deep within the rugged, mist-shrouded mountains of the Philippine archipelago, completely cut off from modern concrete roads, digital signals, and the chaotic rush of 21st century life, lies a hidden sanctuary that time forgot. For centuries, the people of this remote community have lived in near total isolation, preserving an ancient way of life completely shielded from the outside world. To reach them, one must leave behind every modern convenience, navigating treacherous terrain, crossing roaring rivers, and marching deep into the emerald heart of the province. This is a journey that pushes the human body to its absolute limits, into a world where maps hold no power and survival is an art form passed down through generations. But we didn't travel all this way just to capture the breathtaking untouched scenery or to test our physical endurance against the wild. We came because of an incredible rumor. A whisper shared among travelers and historians about a unique, resilient community whose way of living completely challenges everything modern society assumes about poverty, isolation, and rural life in the Philippines. What we actually discovered at the end of this exhausting, dangerous journey was something completely unexpected, something that forces us to re-examine what it truly means to be wealthy, connected, and happy. Welcome back to Unspoken Philippines. Today, we go far beyond the standard tourist maps and shiny travel vlogs to uncover a powerful, raw, and deeply moving story of survival, cultural heritage, and the true beating heart of the islands. This is the story of a village that refused to fade away. To understand the sheer magnitude of this community's isolation, you must first experience the grueling reality of the journey required to get there. In the Philippines, the term province often evokes images of peaceful rice fields, swaying coconut trees, and a slower, more relaxed pace of life. But there is a massive difference between a rural town connected by national highways and a truly isolated settlement buried deep within the mountainous interior. Our journey began at the absolute end of the last paved road, a small, dusty trading post where the modern world abruptly stops. From this point forward, the only way into the mountains is by foot, or by risking a ride on a heavily modified motorcycle known locally as a habal-habal, operating on tracks that would terrify even the most experienced off-road drivers. As the last signs of cellular network bars vanished from our phones, an eerie, profound silence settled over the landscape, broken only by the mechanical roar of our engine fighting against gravity, thick mud, and shifting loose gravel. The path quickly deteriorated from a rough dirt road into a narrow, winding trail, carved directly into the sheer face of the mountain. In many places, recent landslides had carried away massive chunks of the earth, leaving behind steep drop-offs that offered zero room for error. One wrong move, one slick patch of clay caused by the unpredictable tropical rain, and you would find yourself cascading down hundreds of feet into the rocky valley below. As the incline grew too steep for wheels, we were forced to dismount and continue the trek on foot, carrying our heavy camera gear on our backs. The air grew thick, humid, and heavy with the scent of wet earth and wild vegetation. Every step forward felt like a battle against the elements as the tropical heat beat down relentlessly, making the steep ascent an agonizing test of endurance. We crossed swaying suspension bridges made of nothing more than weathered bamboo slats and rusted wire, creaking violently over rushing, whitewater rivers fed by hidden mountain springs. Hours melted into one another, and the physical exhaustion began to take a heavy toll. Your legs burn, your lungs scream for air, and the psychological weight of knowing you are miles away from the nearest medical clinic or rescue team begins to settle in. It is in these moments of intense exhaustion that you realize the true vulnerability of living in the deep interior of the islands. For us, this grueling trek was a one-time adventure, a temporary challenge to document a story. But for the people who call these mountains home, this unforgiving terrain is their daily reality. It is the road they must walk to bring crops to market, the path children must navigate to attend school, and the perilous journey a sick or pregnant villager must endure just to reach a basic doctor. The sheer isolation isn't just a geographic fact. It is a powerful force that shapes every single aspect of human existence in this hidden corner of the world. Just as our physical strength was nearing its absolute limit, the dense canopy of the jungle suddenly parted, revealing a breathtaking sight that made the hours of pain instantly vanish. Nestled within a high-altitude valley, surrounded on all sides by towering, protective peaks, lay the isolated village. It felt as though we had stepped through a hidden portal and emerged decades, if not centuries, in the past. There were no concrete structures, no power lines cutting across the sky, and no drone of passing vehicles. Instead, the landscape was dotted with beautifully crafted traditional stilt houses known as bahay kubo, constructed entirely from local bamboo, wood, and woven nipa palm leaves. Wisps of pale blue smoke drifted lazily from the thatched roofs, carrying the distinct, comforting aroma of burning wood and simmering food. The air here felt crisp, clean, and completely untainted by the pollution of the distant cities. As we walked into the village center, a quiet stillness fell over the community. The presence of outsiders is an incredibly rare event in this hidden valley, and our arrival did not go unnoticed. Children paused their games, staring at our camera gear with wide, curious eyes, while elders peered out from the open windows of their elevated homes. There was a brief, palpable moment of mutual observation, an unspoken tension as two completely different worlds met face to face. But in true Filipino fashion, that tension dissolved within seconds, replaced by an overwhelming warmth that no one in our crew expected. The village chieftain, a respected elder named Tatay Juan, stepped forward to greet us. His face was a living map of the mountains weathered by decades of sun and hard physical labor. But his eyes held an incredible brightness, and his smile was instantaneous and deeply genuine. He didn't ask for identification, he didn't question our motives. Instead, his very first words were an open invitation to sit, rest, and share a meal. This immediate display of hospitality was the first crack in our preconceived notions about what we would find here. In the modern urban world, a stranger arriving unannounced is often met with suspicion, caution, and locked doors. But here, in a place completely cut off from the security of modern police forces or legal systems, trust and hospitality are the default settings of human interaction. Tatay Juan guided us to the shade of a massive ancestral tree in the center of the village, where a group of locals had already begun gathering, bringing out wooden stools and fresh water stored in hollow bamboo tubes. As we drank the remarkably cold, sweet mountain water, we realized that the story of this village was not going to be a tragedy about poverty and abandonment. It was going to be a masterclass in community, resilience, and a completely different definition of human progress. One of the most profound realizations that hits you when visiting a truly isolated community is the absolute necessity of self-sustainability. In the modern city, we are completely dependent on an incredibly complex, fragile supply chain. If a grocery store closes for a few days, or if the electricity grid fails, urban life quickly grinds to a terrifying halt. But in this hidden valley, the concept of a grocery store does not exist. Every single grain of rice, every vegetable, and every piece of meat consumed by the villagers must be grown, harvested, or hunted by their own hands within this ecosystem. This isolation has forced the community to become master agriculturalists and caretakers of the land, preserving traditional farming methods that have been completely lost in the industrialized world. The core of their survival is rooted in the cultivation of heirloom rice varieties that have been passed down through specific families for generations. Unlike the commercial, chemically altered rice found in supermarkets, the rice grown here is completely organic, adapted over centuries to thrive in the unique mountain climate of the valley. We watched in fascination as the village women performed the ancient ritual of pounding and winnowing the rice by hand, using heavy wooden mortars and beautifully woven bamboo trays. This is a highly skilled, rhythmic process that requires immense physical strength and coordination. The resulting rice is incredibly fragrant, rich in nutrients, and forms the foundational baseline of every single meal. But their self-sustainability goes far beyond just agriculture. It extends into a deep spiritual understanding of the wild forests surrounding their homes. The mountains are not seen as an obstacle or a dangerous wilderness, but as a vast natural pantry and pharmacy. The villagers possess an encyclopedic knowledge of the forest, capable of identifying hundreds of unique wild plants, mushrooms, and roots that are completely unknown to modern botanists. Tatay Juan explained that whenever a member of the community falls ill, the first line of defense is always the forest. They forage for specific medicinal barks to break fevers, wild leaves to heal wounds, and roots to soothe stomach ailments. To a modern observer, this might look like primitive medicine, but the historical effectiveness of these natural remedies is undeniable. The health and longevity of the village elders, many of whom continue to work the fields well into their 80s and 90s, stands as a powerful testament to the nutritional and medicinal potency of their natural lifestyle. When it came time to eat, the meal they prepared for us was a revelation. It was a traditional mountain dish made from wild taro leaves, native ginger, and locally raised pork, slow-cooked for hours inside a hollow segment of green bamboo placed directly over the glowing embers of the fire. This ancient cooking method, known as nilulukan, infuses the food with a delicate smoky aroma and a rich, complex flavor that no modern kitchen appliance could ever replicate. Eating this food, sitting on the bamboo floor of a house built by the very hands of the person who cooked it, you realize that this community is not suffering from a lack of food options. They are enjoying a level of food security, purity, and culinary heritage that money simply cannot buy in the outside world. They are completely free from the anxieties of inflation, supply chain disruptions, and food scarcity, because their survival is anchored directly to the earth beneath their feet. But self-sustainability is only one half of the survival equation in this isolated valley. The physical environment is incredibly harsh, and no single individual or single family could ever hope to survive here entirely on their own. The true secret weapon of this community, the unseen force that has kept them thriving for generations, is a beautiful, deeply embedded cultural concept known in the Philippines as bayanihan. In modern urban society, bayanihan is often talked about as a historical tradition or an abstract concept of patriotism. But in this hidden village, bayanihan is a living, breathing daily necessity. It is the communal spirit of unity, cooperation, and unconditional mutual support that dictates how the entire society functions. Here, the individual does not exist in isolation. The individual is an inseparable part of the greater whole. We witnessed this phenomenon firsthand when a young couple in the village needed to expand their home ahead of the arrival of their first child. In the modern world, this would involve securing bank loans, hiring contractors, and navigating weeks of stressful paperwork. But in the village, the process is beautifully simple. The husband merely mentioned his need to the village elders, and the very next morning, dozens of men from across the community showed up at his doorstep, carrying axes, machetes, and bundles of freshly harvested bamboo. There was no exchange of money, no contracts signed, and no expectation of financial payment. The only reward was the shared understanding that when another family needs help in the future, everyone will show up for them in exactly the same way. The women of the village gathered to cook massive pots of heirloom rice and root vegetables to feed the workers, turning a grueling day of construction into a joyful, vibrant community festival. Watching them work together, you immediately notice the absolute absence of competition or friction. There is no boss yelling orders, no clock watching, and no resentment. Everyone knows exactly what needs to be done, and they move together with a natural collective intelligence. The older, more experienced men gently guide the younger boys, passing down construction techniques that have preserved these traditional structures against the fiercest typhoons for centuries. This communal support structure creates an incredible sense of psychological and emotional security. In a society where the community acts as your ultimate safety net, the crippling anxieties of loneliness, financial ruin, and isolation completely melt away. You realize that while they may lack modern banks or insurance policies, they possess the ultimate form of social security, the unwavering commitment of their neighbors. As the afternoon sun began its slow descent behind the jagged mountain peaks, casting long, dramatic shadows across the valley, we sat down again with Tatay Juan to talk about the future of the village. This was the moment where the true twist of the story emerged, the realization that completely caught our entire crew off guard. Before undertaking this journey, we had anticipated that the elders would speak of their isolation with a sense of sadness, regret, or abandonment. We expected them to ask for help in building roads, connecting to the electricity grid, or escaping their remote confinement. We assumed that their ultimate goal would be to break their isolation and integrate into the fast-paced modern world. But as Tatay Juan began to speak, his words revealed a profoundly different perspective that left us completely silent. People from the city often look at us and feel pity. Tatay Juan explained through a soft, calm voice. They see that we don't have electricity, that we don't have internet, and that we must walk for hours through the mud just to reach the town. They think we are trapped here, forgotten by the world. But what they don't understand is that our isolation is not a prison, it is our shield. He paused, looking out over the peaceful village where families were gathering around open cooking fires, their laughter echoing softly through the evening air. In the city you have everything, but you have no time. You have cars, but you have no fresh air. You have thousands of digital friends, but you don't even know the name of your next-door neighbor. Here we have nothing, but we have everything that truly matters. We have our land, we have our peace, and we have each other. We are not waiting to be rescued by the modern world. We are trying to protect our world from being destroyed by it. Those words hit us with an incredible, undeniable weight. It was a profound philosophical shift that flipped our entire understanding of development and progress on its head. For decades, modern society has operated under the absolute assumption that urbanization, technological connectivity, and industrial consumerism are the ultimate goals of human existence. We are taught to constantly chase more money, faster connections, and bigger possessions, often at the direct expense of our mental health, our families, and our environment. But here, in this hidden valley, a community of resilient Filipinos was proving that a human being can achieve an extraordinary level of happiness, contentment, and security by doing the exact opposite. By embracing simplicity, protecting their cultural heritage, and prioritizing human relationships over material wealth, they had built a society that is completely immune to the modern epidemics of anxiety, loneliness, and existential burnout. Our time in the Hidden Valley eventually came to an end, and as we packed our camera gear to begin the long, exhausting trek back to civilization, the mood among our crew was completely different from when we had arrived. We had come to document an isolated village, expecting to find a community struggling to survive on the fringes of the world. Instead, we found a community that was thriving in ways that the modern world can only dream of. As we walked back down the steep mountain path, watching the hidden valley slowly disappear into the morning mist behind us, we realized that the true lesson of this journey was not about the physical isolation of the village. It was about the emotional and spiritual isolation of the modern world we were returning to. The people of this remote village do not need our pity, and they certainly do not need to be rescued. They are the guardians of a sacred, ancient way of living that serves as a powerful mirror for the rest of us, reminding us of what we have lost in our relentless pursuit of progress. They remind us that the true wealth of a nation is not measured by its gross domestic product, its mega cities, or its technological advancements, but by the strength of its communities, the preservation of its heritage, and the depth of its human compassion. Thank you for walking this unforgettable journey with us on Unspoken Philippines. If this documentary touched your heart and changed your perspective, please subscribe to our channel, leave a thoughtful comment below, and share this story with someone who needs to remember what truly matters in life. Until next time, keep looking past the surface and listen to the stories that need to be told.